Chapter 1.1 Goodbye Home. Retta felt weightless. Her curly black hair floated as if underwater, and her body was detached from the gravity that bound her down. She was floating in a vast expanse of space, sprinkled with tiny, scintillating stars that seemed limitless. Here, the universe felt all within her grasp, as if she became one of the great celestial bodies. She reached out to a star, her hand the size of a giant's, crossing light years of space in mere moments. The star's warmth radiated and glowed with vitality as she caressed it in her palm, bringing it close to her chest, its light shining through the crevices between her fingers. She unfurled her fingers, the star playfully buzzing in the comfort of her hand like a firefly enjoying her warmth. "Hey there," she whispered as it danced away before landing once again safely in her palm. As it did, another star appeared, a tiny dot emanating beneath her wrist and nestled within her dark skin. Its warmth was welcoming. One after the next, tiny dots of stars ran down the length of her arm. They connected to each other like lines of a constellation, forming an interwoven web of light. She brushed back her curly, black hair from her face, taking in the beauty of the light. "Everything feels so connected." She heard her mom's voice. "Everything is connected, Retta." She looked up, seeing the infinite expanse of space replaced by her mom as she remembered her. Her mom sat on the edge of a moon, at the cusp of where the expanse of space met its horizon, looking out towards a glowing utopia of a planet. She wore the same outfit as the day she left, giving Retta the same final view of her mom's back she had so many years ago. Her mom had the same black leather jacket, the same long red scarf with maroon patterning and gold trimmings, and the same curly hair that Retta inherited from her. "Mom?" Gray moonrock appeared beneath Retta's feet, giving her stable footing and a path to her mother. "What do you mean everything's connected?" Her mom stayed seated, raising a hand and waving Retta over. As she did, stars flew from her palm, finding their own little spots in space, connecting again like constellations and forming a path between them. Us. People. Retta walked to her mom, each step accompanied by the crunch of gravel and spray of moon dust. The lights on the horizon were familiar, like the ones her mother wrote of. They were the lights that shined so bright they defied the darkness of space, a monument to the human spirit and its ability to overcome. They were the lights of humanity's greatest civilization, and her mom was the first to send stories back to Earth from this utopia. Retta recognized this place from her mother's stories, the outer reach. "We're connected," her mom said, "by the stories we share." Retta sat beside her mom, watching this marvel rotate slowly in space, a distance away from them, as they sat in serene silence, soaking it in. "Do you hear that, Retta?" her mom said. "It's calling." A low beeping noise emanated from her mom. "It's calling?" The beeping grew louder and louder, echoing as if space had walls, echoing as if this space was only the space between her eardrums, echoing bzz, bzz, bzz. Retta's eyes shot wide open, and she stared at her alarm clock as it flashed 12 a.m. in bright red lights. She smashed her left hand against it, cracking the screen, the light flickering before fading away. "Ugh. Well, not like I'm going to need that anymore," she mumbled to herself, noticing that beside the alarm clock, her hand had been resting on the wooden baton her mother gave her. It felt warm in her palm, like the stars in her dream. She played with it in her hand, feeling the intricate carvings against her skin and tracing her fingertips along its edges. The wood was dense and heavy, with a dark stain probably older than Retta or even her mom. The baton was resting atop articles that Retta printed out. "Celeste Starlight Gone Missing?" and "Voice of the Galaxy Goes Silent?" Both articles were dated months before the mysterious package with the baton arrived at Retta's doorstep. That package. How mysteriously boring it was. It was unmarked, unassumingly plain, and yet unquestionably called to Retta's curiosity. Despite being an ordinary brown box, somehow in her gut, Retta knew it was meant for her, and she knew that there was a reason it was so plain. Like any other package, she haphazardly grabbed it and slammed her front door shut behind her. But unlike any other, she took her time before discovering what was inside. Retta pressed her ear to the cardboard, slightly shaking the box and hearing a single, long object bounce inside. It's nothing I would have ordered, and I don't think Dad would have ordered this while he was... She stopped the thought before the sadness began, went to the table, pushed away half-eaten takeout containers to make space, and sat the box down. Retta flicked her trusted knife out from her pocket, pressed the sharp blade to the taped seam, and slowly pulled, hearing the tape as she cut through. She recoiled back, with one hand over her mouth, and pulled the tab open, waiting for a puff of white powder to shoot up or something dramatic. Nothing. She leaned forward again, looked inside, and saw the dark, stained, heavy wooden baton with its intricate carvings resting on top of a paper note. Retta delicately removed the baton, pulled out the note, and in the blue ink of her mother's handwriting, with a star for her signature, the note read, "Find the junk dog." And that led her to tonight. Retta got out of bed and went to her window, picking up a pair of binoculars and looking out. It was a dreary night. The hot summer air mixed with last night's rain made a low-hanging fog hover over the streets. That, mixed with the normal steam and pollution pouring out of the factories, only made it harder to see, but would also make her harder to see. In the distance, hazy from the fog, she saw the ship she was looking for, the junk dog, preparing for takeoff. Engineers disconnected the fuel lines from the ship. Concrete barriers were raised from the ground itself, sectioning off civilians from the launch pad lined with blue, pulsating lights that indicated its preparation for departure. Bingo, she whispered to herself, checking her link on her wrist for the time. The bracelet wrapped around her wrist like a second skin, illuminating as needed, and, if she wanted, could flick out the screen like a switchblade into her hand. The screen showed 12:05 a.m. Red pressed 2 fingers to the screen, splaying them out and expanding the timeline. Right. So, 12:05 a.m., ship docks. 12:15 a.m., old man pays off guards. 12:20 a.m., guards take their daily coffee break. 12:25, ship launches. She reviewed the schedule as she went to her desk, grabbing her black leather jacket off the back of a chair and putting her arms through the sleeves. Retta stepped into tight jeans and shimmied herself in, pulling them over her thighs to barely make it to her hips. Few ships came to Earth these days, and even fewer stayed. Call it serendipity or a gut feeling, but when Retta first saw this ship dock, she knew it was her ticket out of here, especially when she found out the ship was named the Junk Dog. But there was one mystery still. The pilot, that no one seemed to know. "You know who that gruff-looking guy is?" she asked around. "Seems like a pilot from out of town." "Nope." "Older, with sea salt silver hair and a short gray beard. He's got a deep purple pilot's jacket with magenta racing stripes running down it, lined with fur." "Not sure." "He's got leather gloves with some metal wrist piece wrapped around his left hand. Wears a necklace of these metal fang-looking things, too." "Oh, yeah, I've seen him." "Oh, great. Do you know more about him?" Nope. No. Sorry, kid. Not sure. Couldn't really tell you." She should have considered it a bad omen that he was mired in mystery, an elusive pirate that no one knew, with no pilot ID, but she knew tonight was the night he and his ship were leaving Earth, and whoever he was a leap of faith she was willing to take. She hurried to assemble her things, and in her rush, realized she forgot her red scarf. She pulled her desk chair away, crouching low and looking under the desk to find a mess of crumbled papers on the ground, stood up and threw pages off the desk into the air. "Where is it? Where?" "Oh, right." She looked to the bed and saw her scarf fell off in her sleep. With a sweaty palm, she grabbed it, wrapped it around her neck, and took a deep breath of air as she came to ease. Retta stowed the baton in her jacket's breast pocket and slid away the papers on her desk that covered her notebook. Sure, he was old-fashioned, with links taking over, but she felt more connected to the stories when he was on paper than on a screen. She took in her last look at the star map she made above her desk, her lifelong project and way of tracking her mom's adventures across space. Since she was 7, when her mother first left Earth and sent Retta her first article, Retta pinned each story to the board. From the link on her wrist, she flicked out the screen into her hand and with only a thought, snapped one last photo of her star map. With each new article, a new civilization found its way to the map. A new culture found life among the stars, and her 10-year collage in the making became the only physical proof of a mother Retta had not seen in a very long time. Bridge drives made space travel real, and ironically, made the written word relevant again. Blasting off to Mars became a reality, for a price, but communication became the challenge. Pockets of civilization grew across space, and a new frontier was established where pictures and videos were too large to cross the expanse. Journalists went back to the written word, and a collective imagination of discovery was reborn. For so long, Red had looked upon the works of her mother and imagined traversing the stars herself, but this would be the first time Red would leave and travel that star map too. Before she'd been bound to Earth, but now, on her own, nothing tied her to this planet anymore. Nothing. She felt her eyes water up as she took in her another breath, exhaling with determination. I should say goodbye. For real. She looked over to the huge family portrait that hung on the wall, where the paint started peeling from water damage. It was a miracle the picture even lasted, considering it was the last picture their whole family, her mother, father, and brother, had together. But for the last year, it had only been her dad, and his sickness. No word from Felix. No word from her mom. Hey, Dad, she said, stepping closer to the picture, her face at eye level with her father. The wound still felt fresh. She still remembered seeing her reflection in her father's warm eyes only weeks ago. Now she could only look at that flat picture of who he was. She diverted eye contact from the picture while pushing back her hair with her hand. I think you'd be proud of me. I know you used to say I was more like Mom than you, but I don't know. She bit her lower lip, a tear streaming down her cheek as she turned away and wiped it clean. I still think I got a lot from you, you know? Because you were here and she wasn't. I mean, I know it's just us. Felix was out in space too, but I know you want to be out there with him. But you stayed. For me. And I just wish you could have come with me before. She looked to the ground and sniffled, breathing in once again the confidence she needed. I know you didn't stay here for me to be stuck on Earth. You wanted me to be ready to go out there. I think you'd be proud of me, Dad. And I was proud of you, and she started tearing again. I wish I told you that. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I love you. I wish I could have taken you with me. She pulled out her notebook her father gave her, his last gift to her. In the inner fold, he wrote, "To my little starlight, for when you travel the stars. At least I'll bring a part of you with me." She opened the door, looked back on her apartment one final time, and said, "Okay, it's time to do this." The screen slid back into the link in her wrist and read 12:10 a.m. Oh, it's really time to do this. Her nerves gnawed at the inside of her stomach in equal parts excitement and unease. She stepped into her boots by the door and tucked her laces inside. She kicked away a stack of eviction notices her landlord kept sliding under her door, the newest one being her final warning. Yeah, go ahead, evict me. I'm the only one here anyway. She grabbed the doorknob, cold to the touch, and she took a deep breath, looking back on her home for the last time, and left.